put it up on the screen for you. There's a little bit of video so you can get the feel. You can get the feel for what it's like when anti-white terrorists can terrorize a city versus an orderly march of white men in clean-cut clothing and chanting very stupid things. As many of those guys as they can, they're going to send to prison and ruin their lives. None of these anti-whites are going to be touched. In fact, the mayor-elect has come to their defense. Let's have a look at what this video has for us. Look at this. Chicago's mayor-elect said the city should not, quote, demonize the people who rampaged through the loop over the weekend. The social media fueled, quote, teen takeover, close quote, that resulted in 2 people shot and 15 arrests. They were horrible beatings. People were disfigured by beatings, I'm told. Two people shot, maybe more. They're finding out now, as this was an article from the 17th. Lootings, massive destroyed property. White people attacked. I wonder why. Because this mob is anti-white. Only 15 arrests. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson condemned the violence before claiming it wasn't constructive to vilify the rioters who have been starved of opportunities. Folks, this is the anti-white narrative. This specifically is the angelized black race. So it's just, this is forever the story. That's why there's no data that will ever change anybody's mind. That's why there's no Jared Taylor data that's ever going to change anybody's mind. Jared Taylor data only gives people who already hold opinions of concern for the white race and Western civilization, it just gives them something cuddly to hold to them. Because there's nothing, they can't find a woman, so that's what they get. They get Jared Taylor data. It's been like this all along. The data has been like this all along. That doesn't work. It doesn't matter. They could burn the fucking city to the ground and they would say they've been starved of opportunities. Look at the starving people. Some of them around 400 pounds. Some online wanted a more aggressive response from Chicago's new topic. Chicago's getting exactly what they voted for. Yeah, and here's another thing. Chicago, this once mecca of a city built by white men twice, this once mecca of a city is inundated with the most violent, hellish crime. And you think we have this conversation about accelerationism. Well, then if accelerationism is, and of course we know that it's bullshit, the argument from accelerationism. But if that were the case, then we would see, well, you have rampant murder, rape, gang violence, drugs, human trafficking, pedophilia, etc. Everything's just going up. Surely they'll vote for the candidate that was supported by the police union. No, they voted for the more anti-white of the two anti-white candidates. All right, so let's scroll down here. Chicago Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson responded to this week's violence teen takeover. Now, you had 6 years ago orderly white men who were misled, misinformed, many of them playing the villain, regrettably for them and regrettably for our people, who peaceably marched with tiki torches because there's a mosquito problem in Virginia. And it's not described as a teen takeover. No, it is reminiscent of the Nazi party, and they're all going to jail, as many of them as they can get. of the Windy City's downtown area by urging the public to not demonize the hordes of rampaging young people who set cars on fire, clashed with cops, and damaged private property. Now, this is something happening yearly. Every spring, every time it gets warm, mobs of these anti-white terrorists, and that's what they are. That's really the crux of this that you have to take away from it. If you are centering us, if you are centering our people, when you see a mob that's a white erasing Western civilization, what are they white erasing? Well, first of all, the norms. You don't behave like this in Western civilization. So they are attacking our norms, our customs, our law and order. They are attacking our peaceableness, this expectation of bonhomie from fellow citizens of the city, denizens of the city. They're white erasing that. They're physically destroying property. And I don't know, maybe we'll find out statues maybe were destroyed as well. Maybe other works of art of the West destroyed, as we've seen in previous anti-white terrorist mob attacks, anti-white terrorist army attacks, and then physically attacking white people when they find them. What you should see there is anti-whites. What you should see there is anti-whiteism. They are anti-whites. Why is it that this pattern recognition that so many keep getting wrong? You keep failing your IQ test. You know, in IQ testing, there are pattern recognition problems. And there are, in those problems, patterns that are meant to throw you off from the answer, the one pattern that makes it all make sense. Those other patterns that are inserted to throw you off are easier to see. Why is that? Because they're trying to test how high or low your IQ is. If you're able to see past those incorrect, simple patterns, they're incorrect because that's not the pattern that resolves the challenge for you. If you are unable to see the bigger pattern and instead latch on to the smaller pattern, they're able to say, aha, your IQ is lower than is required to see the larger pattern. That's why you have to say, when these sorts of things happen, the larger pattern is that these are anti-whites. They're attacking Western civilization. They're attacking Western expectations of behavior. They're attacking West men, women, and children. This is unacceptable because of those aforementioned things, not because they're black. The problem is not that they're black. The problem is that they're anti-white. Do you got it yet? If you're one of those people who still want to walk away and say, nope, it's because they're black, you're telling me that you are a dumb motherfucker. That's what you're telling me. And don't let the door hit you in the ass, because we need the smartest right now. And we need them pushing everybody of all IQ levels to get on board. This is because they're anti-white. Period. You can have another argument in another time, in another place, about genetics and propensities and proclivities of different groups of people. All of that is totally irrelevant. It is so irrelevant. You make me sick. You make me want to spit when I see people talking about that shit. You are in no position to make any changes based on what you think the science says. So stop entertaining science. Stop entertaining questions of weighing this and determining that when you can't influence it. When you can't make a change to make a difference. Let somebody in another time, in another era, deal with the genetic propensity or proclivity or whatever it is. All we need to worry about, the only thing we should be worrying about, is whether or not things in our world are anti-white or all right. That's all we need to be worried about. and everything else will take care of itself. You don't have to understand how it gets there. I've figured it out for you. Or else you're just going to keep seeing this, and you're going to keep hearing these other content creators and organization misleaders fail again and again and again and again. And your totality of your life. I don't know how people can be so stupid that they could continue with the same course, seeing it fail again and again, and change nothing. It's like, yeah, dumbass, take your fingers out of the door when you're trying to close it. Oh, is that why my fingers keep getting broken? Yes, dumb shit. Oh, yeah, they're all bandaged up. I just thought it wasn't fair. Other people's close their cars and their fingers aren't broken. That's because their hands aren't in the fucking door, dumbass. Are you sure you're not a Jew? Put your head in the door. I'll close it. Johnson, a progressive, so an anti-white Democrat, and former teachers union organizer, anti-white, double anti-white, who was elected mayor earlier this month, released a statement Sunday reacting to the disorder in his city that resulted in a shooting and more than a dozen. A disorder? This was not disorder. This was rampaging anti-white terrorism. New York Post. This was anti-white raging terrorism. Quote, in no way do I condone the destructive activity we saw. They'll be saying this exact same. There'll be mass rapes of white women. I'm going to tell you right now. There'll be mass murders of white people, mass rapes of white women and children within the next 10 years in Western civilization. There'll be rampaging anti-white mobs. They will mass murder and rape white people. And the anti-white mayors at that time will say, in no way do I condone this destructive activity we saw in the Loop and Lakefront this weekend. It is unacceptable and has no place in our city. Oh, you have a bunch of dead and raped people and children who will want to be dead for the rest of their lives. Well, I don't condone that. But don't you know that this angelized group or that group over there, or it'll be this victim group, the privileged group of white people. So it's going to be this non-white group or that non-white group or this victim group of white people. They've all been so put on by the white race and by this Western norms that we have to destroy. Why am I and the people here the only ones who can figure this out? All day long, the anti-whites are saying it's the norms. We have to destroy all of that. And we are the only ones saying that is white erasure. That is a direct attack on us. You're getting rid of all that we make and create and events and project into our world. It is unacceptable and has no place in our city, Johnson said. Yeah, gunning down people. The white woman who is walking along, and you probably all have seen this video, as I have. This white woman, she appears to be white, and I don't know what the claim was, but she's like been cornered against this building by all of these anti-white terrorists. And here's the thing that's important. You know, she could be Jewish. She could be white presenting Hispanic. Who knows? But to the anti-white mob, she's close enough to white. That's why they would target her. You got to get this right in your heads. I hope you're hearing what I'm saying, and it's infusing itself in you. So they see her and they set upon her because of the perception of her being white. What was happening there? What was happening? What were they attacking? They were attacking the white race. She was the avatar for the white race in that moment. And at a stroke of nothing, they all set upon her, flailing fists and feet to stomp her into the ground. What's happening when they attack the police cars? What's happening when they attack the mailboxes? What's happening when they destroy the business fronts. It's an attack on Western civilization. They're out there with expensive, like seven jeans and expensive sneakers and top of the line cell phones, top of the line eyewear. So many of them fat. These are not starving and needy and don't have, but all of those needs without having to work for it have been met primarily because of a ton of white guilted white people and a lot of white women out there as well saying, oh, if we just give them what they want, then if we just appease them, then everything will be okay. They're just heeding the arguments of the anti-whites, endlessly heeding the arguments, just like now. What's the mean pathogen here? It's that they're needy. They're starved of opportunities. They're starved of a place to go and have fun. Right? And this is what you do in the place of fun? No, this is an attack on Western civilization. This is an attack on white people. They fucking hate you. They hate you. They hate your history. They hate the glory of Europe. They hate that we build Western civilization. They hate that we discovered and like gods took control of electricity. They hate that we pump oil from the earth and make machines fly through the sky. This is all races of anti-whites, including white anti-whites. They hate that the white race has done this and does this. That's what it's about. And if you are not talking about their hatred for Western civilization, you're not going to do a damn bit of good. For yourself, for our people, for all the white children who have to live in this mess, while maybe you're sitting around LARPing. Well, maybe you're sitting around talking about how, well, revolution's going to have to come. And you've got your whatever banner up in your garage and you're just waiting. Well, while you wait and do nothing, and you'll do nothing in the future too, because you're not going to have more strength than you have now. You have less strength every day. You are bequeathing a world of pure hell to white children. And I have nothing but contempt for you. I spit on your asses, you disgusting motherfuckers. I spit on you. Right on this plastic that my desk chair wheels upon. I spit on you. And it makes me sick to think that white people could be so selfish and irresponsible that they would give a world like much worse than this to the little white babies running around and the little white babies to come. Yeah, go ahead. Call me all the names you want. Make up all the lies about me you want, because I'm doing the right thing. And if there's a God in heaven, you will suffer a most miserable hell. And I'll be remembered in the stars. Johnson went on, quote, however, it is not constructive to demonize youth who have otherwise been starved of opportunities in their own communities. So the story here is not that they are going to use euphemisms for anything that contradicts the anti-white narrative. It's not just a euphemism for black people. Please understand. It's not just if it was Arabs that went out there, or if it were a bunch of, the white anarchists, white and Jewish anti-white anarchists that went out and were destroying things, they would use a euphemism. And they do use euphemisms. They use euphemisms to mislead, to misdirect, so that you don't see the contradiction to the anti-white narrative, which makes all of these crimes a hush crime. Every one of it, every bit of it is a hush crime. That's another MC that you can take to your friends, family, and strangers to talk about what's going on. It's loaded with unspoken premises that empower you. You're welcome. So that you can make a difference in your world and therefore in our world. Everybody wants to sit right down on the, you're not supposed to know this. I mean, how do you even listen to content creators or newscasters that say this shit anymore? Okay, if you're 15 and it's like your first year listening to it, okay. After a whole year of it, it's like watching the same movie over and over. You know, really what it is, and I thought about this today. I got sent a clip from about a guy. I'm not going to say who he is, but these people have mastered running in place. A lot of these content creators, they've mastered running in place. Why? Because they get self-aggrandizement, they get sex, they get money out of it, so they run in place. That's what they do. They've mastered running in place. It's bad. It's good. It's bad. Here's something funny. It's bad. There's something good. Somebody that we like accomplished something good. We'll celebrate that as our success. Oh, it's bad again. They've just mastered the art of running in place for their own enrichment. My mind is not built like that. And the people who are drawn to us and the work that we do, their minds are not built like that. We are problem solvers. We see that there is this evil in the world, and we want to extinguish the evil. We don't want to run in place. He continued, our city must work together to create spaces for youth to gather. And of course, this is all predictable. I mean, we could write this and you could say, wow, Jason's just like an artificial intelligence. Look, he wrote what they were going to say before they said it. No, you just have to go free and then you'll get it. Our city must work together to create spaces for youth to gather safely and responsibly under adult guidance and supervision to ensure that every part of our city remains welcome for both residents and visitors. Yeah, they need to learn not to murder each other, and they already know that. They need to learn to not have 20-on-1 violence. They already know that. They need to learn, why do they do it? Because it's an affront and an attack on Western civilization. They're doing these things because it is an attack on Western civilization. Johnson, 47, added that it is his goal as mayor to... Why did they put his age in there? Added that it is his goal as mayor to, quote, improve public safety and make Chicago livable for everyone. Well, then the people wouldn't have voted for you. They voted for you because they want more anti-whiteism, even though it means that you are destroying the gentrified areas of Chicago, destroying the shopping districts and money district of Chicago. They want more of that. Why do they want more of it? Because the anti-white moral imperative is more meaningful to them than safe gentrified streets, than the possibility of them being one of the herd who's taken down. No, they're thinking, I'm in the herd. It's not going to happen to me. It won't happen to any of my family members. Do you all remember that big argument I had with the anti-white guy who I kept saying over and over because I knew I was cornering him? I kept saying over and over, I hope it's not your wife and daughter. I hope it's not your wife and daughter that gets raped. And then he said, what are the odds that it'll be my wife and daughter that gets raped? And I was like, you livid piece of shit. It's going to be somebody's wife and daughter. And you don't care because the odds are slim that it'll be yours. I got it right out of him. I pinned him. I cornered him. He didn't even see it coming. He fancies himself very bright. And he's at least average. He might be a little above average intelligence. But I cornered him and made him admit to what was really going on inside of him. And the look on his face was like, how did you just corner me and force me to reveal my hand? 2 nights of unrest. People bludgeoned, teeth knocked out of their mouths, eye orbits broken. What else was going on? Property destroyed. Oh, well, it's just property insurance will take care of that, unless it's patriots heading up to the Capitol and they knocked a window out. Then that's a grievous offense for which one has to be hanged. Which were organized on social media, saw packs of out-of-control teens clash with cops, brawl with one another, vandalize property, and break into and set cars on fire. They already know that you're not supposed to do. I mean, what are you going to have at your place of opportunity for the little anti-white terrorists? What are you going to have there? Cars for them to set on fire? Because that's what they want to do. They don't want to play basketball. In the 80s, they did that in Washington, D.C. They were like, all we need is midnight basketball to take care of it all. No, they started doing the raping and the killing and the drug dealing at the midnight basketball places. Why? Because the norms of the West have been white erased. If the norms of the West were being enforced and you said, oh, you jumped on top of a police car and kicked the windshield in and then set it on fire, okay, you get 100 years in jail. Then you would have a lot less of that. If our norms were in place, you'd have a lot less of this behavior. I promise you. I promise you. Just like I guarantee if I were the principal and allowed to do what had to be done at any of these wretched schools in Washington, D.C., oh, those kids would get educations. The ones that would be able to get educations, the violent, the criminal, the murderers or whatever, they'd be thrown right out. That's Western civilization. So you would have, if we had Western norms in place, you would have nice little school bus trips of these black students. They come into the city and they would walk around and they would look at the wonderful art built by Western civilization and the beautiful buildings and everything and contributions from other groups as well. And they would go down there and they would enjoy it and they wouldn't gang attack people and cripple them and psychologically damage them for life, because they would know that the white standard of behavior is all that is tolerated. Am I making sense to anybody yet? Can I get an amen? One video showed youngsters get on top and dance on a bus. Are they going to provide buses for people to dance on? Johnson urged the public not to demonize the hordes of rampaging young people. Is it just me, or did they actually vote in the midst of all the horror? Is that him? Did the anti-whites actually vote for a guy that promised more anti-whiteism, whose name is a synonym of penis? Did they actually do that? I mean, that's how bad things are. No arrests have been made. Now, I want you to talk about anarcho-tyranny and my friend Sam Francis. Chicago, anti-white, livid, violent terrorists attack the city, destroying Western civilization to the best of their ability, attacking Westmen wherever they find them. No arrests. Excuses from the government and promises to give them more of the riches of the West, of your industry and hard work. Tyranny. Charlottesville, Virginia. White men, young men, orderly march in objection to the white erasure of what is considered globally one of the greatest and most pristine generals and gentlemen of all time, General Robert E. Lee. And they are still arresting them and prosecuting them and hunting them down 6 years later. I ask you this, friends. Are you ready to give up the old strategies and ideologies that have all failed you thus far? And if your answer is no, you have failed the IQ test and your place in history. It's time for you to hang your hat up. If you are otherwise motivated to dump the things of the past that have all failed and have brought us to this day of blatant anarcho-tyranny, are you ready to dump all of that garbage from the past and go free with a fucking vengeance? Because if you are, then I offer you my hand. It's not going to be there forever.